Costing Raw Materials for Principles of Costings, AAT Level 2. Today we're going to be looking at 3 methods of valuing your inventory. First in, first out, last in, first out, and average costings. When valuing the cost of your inventory, you need to keep in mind that inventory is subject to price change. So for example, you may have bought a unit of inventory in May for £2 per unit. You may have then bought the same unit of inventory in June, but this time costing £3 per unit. What we are trying to do is value the cost of our inventory, taking into consideration the fluctuating costs. So, in an exam question, when you are asked to value your inventory by FIFO, they mean the first in, first out method. LIFO means the last in, first out method, and AVCO means the average cost. First of all, we're going to look at first in, first out. We have a list of inventory here and an issue that we need to value on March the 23rd. On March the 5th, we bought 100 units costing us £200. On the 12th, we bought another 100 units, but this time it cost us £250. And on March the 19th, we bought 200 units costing us £600. When using the first in, first out method, we are going to be working from March the 5th, the first set of inventory in that's available to us. First of all, we're going to calculate the individual cost per unit on each day that it was bought. So on March the 5th, we bought 100 units for £200, meaning it cost us £2 per unit. On the 12th, we bought 100 units, this time costing us £250, meaning it cost us £2.50 per unit. And on the 19th, we bought another 200 units costing £600, meaning it cost us £3 per unit. Next, we're going to do a running tally, the overall amount of stock that we have and the overall amount that it has cost us. So March the 5th is pretty simple. We already know 100 units, £200 worth of value. On March the 12th, we added in another 100 units, so it gave us 200 units overall. This cost us £250, so we're going to add them together to give us a running cost of £450. On the 19th, we added another 200 units, giving us 400 units, and an overall costing of £1,050, adding in that extra 600 there. We now want to value this £300 issue. Using the first in, first out method, we are going to start with March the 5th, the first set of available inventory to us. So we're going to take 100 from March the 5th, costing us £2 a unit, so that will cost us £200. But we need more than 100, we need 300, so we're going to work our way down the list. On March the 12th, we have another 100 units available to us, but this time it was £250. And on March the 19th, we need one more 100 unit to make up this 300. So we're going to take 100 from here. We know that cost us £3 per unit. So the extra 100 we need is going to cost us £300. 100 plus 100 plus 100 gives us our 300 issue. We're going to add together these 3 different costings, giving us an overall cost of £750. Next, we need to calculate the closing value on March the 27th. In order to do that, we're going to take our closing inventory on March the 19th of 1,050. We are going to minus the 750 that we have taken out of our stock, and this is going to give us a valuation of £300. On March the 27th, we bought in 400 units extra at a cost of 1,350. So we're going to add that 1,350 to the £300 of existing stock, giving us 1,650. So using the first in, first out method, our issue cost us £750 and our closing inventory on the 27th of March was £1,650. Now we're going to value the inventory at the last in, first out method. Here we're going to be working from figures on the 19th of March, so this is the last available inventory to us. Last in, first out. Once again, we're going to calculate the individual costs per unit. We've already done that in the previous section, so I'll just add them in there. Next, we're going to calculate our overall inventory. Add them in there for you. Now we need to calculate the value of this 300 unit issue. This time we're going to be working backwards from March the 19th. So we have 200 units available here on March the 19th at £3 per unit, giving us a valuation of £600. We need 300 units, so we need to keep going further back up the list. We have another 100 units available here on March the 12th at £2.50 a unit, which is going to value it at £2.50. There we have our 300 units. Add together the two different costings of 600 and 250, gives us a valuation of that issue of £850. In order to calculate the closing balance on March the 27th, we're going to take our existing closing inventory of 1,050 minus our 850 that we've just issued out, giving us £200 worth of inventory. On March 27th, we bought in some more at 1,350. Adding that to our 200 gives us £1,550. So using the last in, first out method, we have an issue price of 850 and a closing inventory of 1,550. Finally, we're going to look at the average costings. Here we're going to be doing a snapshot price on March the 19th. This is a unit cost that we're going to create simply for this issue. It's not to be used further on in valuing your products. So once again, calculate the individual cost per unit and calculate the total inventory. So we're going to look at March the 19th here. We have 400 units in stock valued at £1,050. In order to get a snapshot of what our inventory is worth, we are going to divide £1,050 by 400 units. This gives us 2.625 per unit. Now you need to be careful here. A lot of the questions will tell you to round up your answers. That does not mean to round up your calculation figures. If I was to round this figure up to 3, it would put our calculations askew and give us the wrong answer. So we're going to work from 2.625. 2.625 times the 300 units we want to issue gives us 78750. Now, if the question had told us to round up our answers, we would then type in 788, but we're just going to keep it at the decimal place here. So our cost of issue on the March the 23rd is £787.50. Calculating our closing value on March the 27th, we are going to take our 1,050 valuation here the day before the issue. We're going to minus our 78750 that we've just issued out of our inventory, leaving us with £262.50 worth of stock. We now add in the extra 400 units bought in of 1,350, gives us a closing inventory on the 27th of March of 1612.50. So using the average costings method, we have had an issue of £787.50 and we have a closing balance of £1,612.50. Normally in a test question, you will be asked to use at least 2 different methods to work out the cost of issue from a set of inventory accounts. A good way of checking that you've got these right is by putting the cost of issue plus the closing inventory to create the overall sum. You can see here that with the 3 different methods, the cost of issue and the closing inventory all add up to £2,400 because they all average each other out. So a good way to just check that your answer is on the right track.